everybody, it's Christine with Cocoa Daisy, and I wanted to show you a few ideas for how to set up a couple pages in your rings if you use a planner that has a ring binder. I also have kind of a neat way of using one of our notebooks, specifically the stripe pages. If you like to do some menu planning, I've got kind of a neat twist on how to use that as almost like a food journal. I know a lot of us, when we use our notebooks or we use our pages that are our inserts and that, you hate to just throw them away. So I do like to try and come up with ideas once in a while to use it for planning, but at the same time, something you'd be happy to keep, that it would be neat to look back on. So this is just a simple layout, daily layout. You see me do this quite often. This is pretty consistent with how I set up my planner, but I do like to give you some ideas on how you can use some of the product from the planner kit. This is using items from our planner kit from the November Moss and Mirth collection. And it did come with a couple of our adhesive pockets. I've been pretty consistent with including these each month, and I'm finding I really do use them every month. So leave me a comment. I would love to know if you want me to switch that up, if you're like, hey, okay, I've had enough pockets, let's do something different. Or if you're like, yes, please keep the pockets coming because I use them every month as well. I'd love to know that. So just as a side note, our daily pages, or the daily part of our inserts, do come as a 2-page spread. So you have this section that you can divide up. I do must do, that's my focus for the day, the to-do list, call, email, and then kind of scheduled things that I have that have a specific time, that kind of thing go here. And then my other items go in my hope to get done, have to get done is kind of the way I do it. And then I put the meal plan down here as well. So we've got a great little sticky note in here. I love this. You could totally have this almost be like a tracker if you wanted to. It says keeping track on it. You could list it. You could do, you could number things. You could put times on here. There's a lot of different ways that you could use these, or just to keep track of notes. There is a beautiful mushroom washi tape in this one. Isn't that cute? So I have that as well. And then I just did some stickers. There was some of the beautiful pet stickers. Love how those lay on the page, and there's almost like no bulk on those. I used one of the tabs with the November goals. Those work really great on the tab die cuts. And then the dates on this one. And then there was a different layout I used those for. Some of the beautiful, I love the colors and the patterns. I feel like this is just such a nice November palette, because November can be one of those months. It's not really full of color. Sometimes you have a lot of browns and that left, and I just thought it would be really fun to do this kind of a palette. So as I mentioned, there is 2 adhesive pockets. One thing that's kind of neat is we followed the shape of the mushrooms on the small one this month, and I think that turned out really cute. Your little notepad here would fit in this one, but I used a piece of the pattern paper, cut that out, rounded the corners, and just adhered the one pocket, and now I have a pocket page. Super simple, and I can keep my my extra stickers in there. You could also keep your little notepad in there if you wanted to. So that turned out really neat. I like that. Oh, and it comes with this beautiful brown pen. It has 2 tips. So you have the larger, and then you have the finer. And it's a really nice warm brown. And that is the Tombow Twin Tone. And the, I think it's actually just called brown. But so that just kind of shows you the tips on that. so my little idea, and I'm using a week's booklet, and I thought it was perfect for this. So a lot of you ask questions what to do with the stripe pages. And one of the things that a lot of people will use them for is for menu planning. And I thought that would be really fun to then show you how you can take that and turn it into almost like a journal. So I have my menu here, and my thought was, okay, after the week is done, so take one photograph of a meal that week. So you have your menu plan, you've done that, you go back and you have one meal that you've taken a photograph of. And then you record that on this side. Write a little note about it. Was it a new recipe? Did you go out to eat? Did you have takeout? Did you go to someone else's house? Did you do some comfort food? Did you do a crock pot recipe that your family loves? Anything like that. Because meals, I've always felt, have been so important as far as family time. And I think it would really be neat to journal about that. But this is kind of approachable. It's not overwhelming, like you're going to write about every single meal. You're just going to pick one, take a little photograph of it, and then you could have the same exact layout every week. So you could follow this, which again makes it very approachable and easy to keep track of. If I have the same layout, I have a picture, I have a little journaling, I draw a line, I add the name of the dish we had or whatever was on the menu that day, and that's it. You could even, if like, let's say it's a new recipe, you could even include the recipe on here. And then when you get done, you have this fun journal of a meal from every single week that you could keep. And I think that'd be really neat. In fact, if you wanted to, like, let's say you start this, right? And you do this every single month. And then, you're using these pages for lists or you're using these for daily planning. You're like, well, I don't really want to keep all of that. I only want to keep this part that I've journaled on. It would be really neat to take these pages out and punch them and do that every single month and put them in a binder. And then at the end of the year, you'd have a food journal from the whole year. I think that'd be cool. I think that would be really, really fun to do. So I may have to start actually doing that because I think it's, like I said, it's approachable. It's not an overwhelming thing like I have to do it daily. It's just one image a week, keep the format the same, and that's it. Super, super simple. And I do like the week's size for this. I don't have to have a large photograph, but it's not too tiny. There's plenty of room to write out what I need to as far as the menu and everything like that. I can decorate it a little bit. You can see here where I did the sticker. I added some of the stamping, the November, and the on the menu is from the 4x6 stamp set, the subscription stamp. That's where that is from. But again, super, super simple. You could do this every single week. And like I said, if you didn't want to keep the whole notebook, if you wanted to create almost like a little mini album of these, you could cut out just these pages and do that every month of the year, starting, well, whenever you want to start. But wouldn't that be fun? So that is a little look at what I've done with the planner kit. A couple of things I just wanted to quick show you is the beautiful pouch that goes with this month's theme. Isn't that pretty? So, and you could even throw a couple of things in here, and if you wanted to have that kind of set up, if you're going to handwrite this stuff, you could totally throw all of that together in the pouch too and have it ready to go. So that is a look at some fun ideas on how to use your planner with the inserts or with a notebook, and then use the planning kit. So let's talk a little bit about combining journaling, planning, and memory keeping all together. So we talked about that a little bit with my idea on how to kind of document like almost like a food journal. This is something I see a lot of amazing creative people do. And I wanted to try it and do it in one of the Cocoa Daisy notebooks. You could do this in any notebook or journal that you have. It wouldn't have to be one of ours. I, of course, am partial to ours because I love I love the layout, and I love the artwork that's already in here. So I don't feel as overwhelmed as I would maybe with a blank slate and trying to figure out, well, how to structure it and what to put where, and how much artwork to add. I like having that kind of starting point. And this is the B6 size. It's a nice size. It's not overwhelming. It's not too small where I can't put in a picture if I want to, or do a little stamping, add a little bit of artwork, but it's not so big that I feel like I have to fill up the space with a ton of journaling. So I like the size for this. And I also like that the daily pages in here, you can set this up where you have a page on each, or a day on each page. So I am using the journaling kit for this little example. I'm using the journaling kit and some of the stamps from the 4x6 stamp subscription on here. So what I did is I broke it down by day. So I have a page a day. I added the November stamp, and then I used the day stickers. So I have Wednesday and Thursday with the dates on there. So that kind of gives me my structure to start with. And then I went through and I thought, well, if I break up each day a little bit, and what I wanted to do is, it's not necessarily broken down with just a straight to do. It's more, what are a couple of things that happened from that day? And then I add a little bit of journaling with each one. So it's a snippet of the day, and it's also a little bit of journaling. If you want to do a little photograph on there, you can. So you're memory keeping, you're journaling, and you're planning kind of all together. And the easiest way, I think, to do that is to kind of break it down. You could do this a little bit ahead of time, where if you wanted to structure it where you have this area with your to-do list, and then you go in and add a little journaling about one or two things toward the bottom, or you cut it into each day into 4 sections, or like you see here, I did 3, this one I did 2. You could vary it, but if you break it down each page into sections, I feel like that kind of helps you see it. It makes it interesting design-wise, and it also helps you kind of create within that space, if that makes any sense. So I have this area here where I used the alpha stickers. I added those, and then the shipping continues. I did a little bit of stamping on here, and then I added one of the pretty rub-ons, and then just added kind of some information about the day and shipping. Then this is my line to kind of cut the page in half. What do I need more of? That was one of the rub-ons. And the little taking naps was one of the stickers, the washi stickers. And I love that this particular kit, everything on here is very minimal bulk. So if you have a bound notebook style, I'm trying to think of a couple of the brands, and for whatever reason, they're escaping me at the moment, and all of you are going, yelling those names, and I apologize. If you have like a Hobonichi or something like that, and it has the fine paper, but it's like a book bound, you don't want to have a lot of bulk. The rub-ons and the vellum stickers are perfect for that. Stamping is always perfect for that. So you can cut that into that section. Then what I did is I took this section and cut it kind of in half again. So just talking about sitting on the sofa with hubby and what was on the menu for that evening. And that is now a really kind of neat record of that day. So again, trying to think of ways to make your planning that little bit of a time capsule or a journal that you would want to keep. So you would want to save this when you're done with it. This one, I turned it into 2 sections. So I've got the thankful with the little note here about the Chicago Planner Conference, which if you guys didn't see, I'm pretty excited about. They asked me to speak at that in November, so I'm super psyched about that. Did a little bit more stamping on there again. I love the little circle stamps. They add just a little bit of a layer in there. And then I did the dinner and cards with Mom, added a note about that, another beautiful rub-on, and then a fun picture, and then just kind of topped it all off with a little bit of washi at the bottom. But again, if you break it down into sections, it makes it very easy to kind of decorate or create that section. And then when it's all done, it looks very, very cohesive because you're kind of using a grid structure. And I love that. And I love how it turned out. It's a really, really fun way to plan, journal, and memory keep kind of all together. The other thing that you can do is in the journaling kit, we get a 10 journaling prompts. So if you want to use one of these every couple days, you could do that just to kind of give you something, a jumping off point, something to write about. If your day really nothing happened and you have kind of this open section, then you can use a journal prompt, and it's fun to do that and add that in there as well. So I am always looking for new ways to create layouts, to use our notebooks for memory keeping, for journaling. I'm always trying to think of a new way to do that. And I think that goes back to even my old scrapbooking days, where you would get inspiration from magazines. I was always inspired by advertising, or layouts or promotions, those kinds of things. Always signs. So much goes into graphic design that if you look at the bones of a lot of advertisements, you can get a layout idea pretty quickly. And that's what happened with this. I was perusing Pinterest and I saw this and I thought, how cool would it be to make a layout? My layouts are usually very, very structured and very all straight. And I thought, okay, this is a little more free and a little more kind of organic, I guess, maybe. And I thought it would be really, really fun to do a layout like this. So what I want you to do is, if you ever get stuck and you're like, I'm sick of doing the same kind of layout, I don't know what I want to journal about, I want to do something creative, junk journal type of idea, but I'm not sure what I want to do. Look at some advertising. Go on Pinterest and just don't look at just that particular reference. So what I mean by that is, I want to do a junk journal layout. Don't just look up junk journaling. Look up advertising, or look up logos, or something that maybe is similar in theme, and see what pops up, and look at it as the bones. I especially loved the circles through here, and I loved the writing with the arrows, and I loved this large title. So that was kind of my idea, like, okay, that would be really fun. Love the circles. You know me, I love anything with circles. And I thought, what if another idea that gave me is how to group like photographs that aren't of the same day or necessarily the same event. Now this one obviously is from a trip, but I liked the idea of grouping numerous photographs. So I thought, well, it would be fun to take a bunch of pictures of Lilu doing what Lilu does, and then making a theme out of that. So this is our A5 notebook, and I'm using the deluxe journaling kit for this. It has lots of layers and the pattern paper. I thought it would work really, really well for this. So I started out, I punched some circles using a circle punch from the beautiful pattern papers. You could always punch from the vellum, from the specialty paper, add a little extra texture on there if you wanted to. You could even put these behind some of it. Just depends on how many layers you felt like doing. But I started with those circles, punched those out, and laid those kind of across the middle, again, using this kind of as inspiration. And then I added my photographs. I wanted to kind of highlight this one. So I used my sticky note pad as almost like a photo mat. So again, that adds another layer. It kind of highlights or elevates that particular picture. And all the pictures are different sizes, which I liked. Some of them are turned, some of them are straight. And then I used the rub-on, the What Feels Cozy to Me Right Now, which I thought kind of fit with the theme. I used a couple of the watercolor rub-ons, love those. And then I added some of the other stickers. There's the Taking Naps, even the Little Things Grow in Good Company. And that, if you do not have to use these quotes as you see them. So that little sticker was with these toadstools. I cut out just the saying. I didn't want the toadstools. So it's the same idea here. You could cut out, if it's separate, you could cut it out and turn that into 2 stickers if you wanted to. And then I added my journaling, and then I just drew some of the arrows. Again, taking that inspiration from my inspiration piece. I added a large title in a fun font, and I use some sticker paper. It's a matte sticker paper. I just get it from Amazon, and I just print out my journaling. I printed out my header that way and added that on there. It's a simple layout, but what's fun is how many different things you could add. If you have beautiful handwriting and you want to make it super sketchy, you could do some more arrows. You could do some more freehand writing on there. You could use some beautiful fountain pen inks. You could put that in there. And you end up with a really, really fun layout. And again, if you don't even have pictures, you could go through and cut out pictures from advertising. You could use just artwork, some of the beautiful, beautiful artwork from the rub-ons and the stickers. You could turn that into your pieces and then just add some poems, add some journaling, add some thoughts, and create a layout that way as well. You could turn this into a daily thing by doing the same idea with the circle punch. You could do that through every single day. It would really be kind of fun to do that. But it's just kind of a neat way to use inspiration, an inspiration piece, and create a layout from it. It gives you a good jumping off point if you kind of feel stuck as well. And I had a lot of fun doing that. The other thing I would say about it is if you have a very particular style, like I said, mine is usually very straight, very structured. It's fun to take something like this and it will stretch your creativity. You might feel a little uncomfortable at first because it's just not how you normally do things, but it's fun to try something new. And if you have a art journal, which is something that I have started, where I don't worry about what it looks like. I don't worry about it being an example to show anybody. It's just for me to try things. There's nothing wrong in that journal. You know what I'm saying? As far as it's just for creative play, this is a fun idea to do that as well, because it makes you just try things. And I think that's always so important. Your creativity is a muscle and you need to use it and try different things with it. So that is a look at a fun little layout that I did, and that was using the Deluxe Journaling Kit. So I have kind of a bonus layout that I did this month, and some of you will kind of recognize this. So if you remember back to September, I did this with the tea bags. I loved this so much that I wanted to do something similar with the November collection, because I really wanted to doodle some mushrooms. I had the same idea, just like I did with the tea bags, where I added the pattern paper at the bottom of the tea bag. I thought it would be really fun to add some pattern paper at the top of the doodled mushrooms. I used this same stamp set from September as well for my days of the week. I cut it into the vertical sections like this for planning. And I use the November is from the 4x6 stamp set. And I had fun. So this is just kind of a little bonus. It's the same layout, like I said, as I did for September, but this time I did it with the mushrooms. And I want to see if I can actually show you a little bit closer what I did. So I doodled each mushroom. I added just kind of some fun little leaf doodles on there. There's a little snail on there. And then I did some shading. I went in there with some of my colored pencils and added a little more detail. I didn't get too crazy. And then what I did is I traced this area here and made a little cutout from the pattern paper. So you can see where, I don't remember which one this was, I think it was that one. So each one has a little bit of a different pattern in it. I cut it out of the beautiful pattern papers. And I had a lot of fun adding those in there. And I think they turned out really, really cute. And then I went in and I added, just like I did with the tea bags, there's tiny little sayings for each day. So like Mossy Monday, Wanderings Among the Woodland Floor. And then you have Toadstool Tuesday, where tiny caps pop up like magic. Whimsical Wednesday, Thicket Thursday, Forest Floor Friday, Shaded Saturday, and Spore Sunday. And I thought it's just fun. And for those of you who love to doodle when you journal, I thought it would be neat to show you how you can create that along the bottom and set up your planning. You could do a whole week on 2 pages like this if you don't have a lot that you're going to write about, but it gives you the opportunity to be kind of artistic, have a little fun. I mean, we can all doodle. Honestly, doodling is not hard. You can go on Pinterest and see tons of short step-by-step videos on how to doodle if you're a little unsure how to do it. One of the things you can do is you can practice on a piece of paper and doodle a couple of whatever it is, like for instance what I did here for mushrooms. And then if you want to, you can trace it, you can cut it out and trace it on there. If you have a light table, you can lay it over top and trace it if you're not comfortable repeating it. So there's some fun ways that you can do it. But again, it's, as I said earlier, it's one of those creative muscles that if you don't use it, it won't perform when you want it to. So you need to do it. Try it. Try doodling. It's easy. It's simple. And I love adding the bits of pattern paper. It's another fun way to use your pattern paper as well.